On the scorching plains of a dusty town, a man repeated a phrase as if it were a shield. "There's still time." He said it when he ignored an urgent call, when he postponed a visit, when he left a tomorrow sitting on the table. But the day he tried to fix everything, he discovered that some doors do not wait, and that what seemed under control was already quietly falling apart. His name was Esteban, and he was known as an organized man. He was 43 years old, owned a small repair shop, and kept a notebook filled with lists. In his mind, everything had its place. Work first, then family, then rest, and last, what truly mattered to the heart. He wasn't a bad man. He simply lived as if life owed him more opportunities for being responsible. Every morning he opened the shop, lifted the metal shutter, and breathed in the smell of metal, oil, and old dust. He arranged his tools, checked accounts, and replied quickly to messages. When someone asked him for a favor, he would say, "Of course, but later." And when his wife, Irene, spoke to him about unresolved matters, he smiled and said, "Love, I can't today. But this weekend, yes." Irene was patient. She didn't complain with raised voices. She complained with silence. She would sit across from him at dinner and tell him small things, that their son Lucas was quieter than usual, that the house felt cold even when people were there, that Esteban's mother had been asking to see him. Esteban nodded without lifting his eyes from his phone, convinced that listening a little was enough. One afternoon, the phone vibrated insistently. It was his mother. Esteban looked at the screen, thought, "Not now," and let it ring. "I'll call her back later," he told himself, like someone saving a coin for tomorrow. At that moment, Irina looked at him intently, as if she had heard something he hadn't. Esteban let out a soft laugh. "Relax. There's still time." The following days kept the same rhythm. Work, pending tasks, postponed promises. Esteban felt secure because nothing seemed out of place. The business was doing well, the bills were paid, and the routine worked like a clock. But at home, something was tightening. Lucas no longer asked when they would play together. Irene spoke less. Silence began to fill spaces that once had words. One night, Irene broke the calm with a short sentence. "Your mother called again." Esteban sighed. "Tired. I'll go tomorrow," he replied without thinking. She didn't argue. She only nodded. But her gaze carried a different weight, as if it held a warning. Esteban didn't notice it. In his mind, tomorrow was still a firm promise, almost guaranteed. The next day, an important client arrived at the shop in a hurry. It was a big, well-paid job. Esteban decided to stay late. When the phone vibrated again, he glanced at it. Another missed call from his mother. He thought he would return it after closing. Just today, he told himself. Without knowing it, that just today was pushing something fragile closer to the edge. That night, when he got home, he found Irene sitting in the dark. She wasn't crying. That unsettled him even more. "Is something wrong?" he asked. She answered slowly. "Lucas asked if you would always be busy." The sentence made him uncomfortable, but he brushed it aside with a tired smile. "It's just a phase," he said. Without realizing it, he was calling normal an absence that was already hurting. Before going to sleep, Esteban reviewed his planner. Everything was scheduled. Payments, deliveries, meetings, everything. Except what truly mattered. He closed the notebook, satisfied. From the adjacent room, he heard Irina sigh, like someone waiting for something that never arrives. Esteban turned over in bed and murmured to himself, "Tomorrow I'll fix everything." And once again, he believed there was still time. The breaking point began quietly. One morning, Esteban noticed a voice message from his mother sent the night before. He didn't listen to it right away. He rushed out, as always. On the way, he thought about calling her, but another urgency took over his mind. Without realizing it, he was accumulating small decisions that, together, weighed far more than he imagined. At the shop, an unexpected breakdown delayed everything. Tools scattered, impatient clients, constant noise. Esteban felt the day slipping through his fingers. When he finally had a moment to breathe, he checked his phone. Another message from Irene. Call her today. That sentence no longer sounded like advice, but like a warning. Even so, he left it for later. That afternoon, when he returned home, he found Lucas in silence, drawing alone. Esteban approached and tried to talk to him, but the boy replied with single words. Irina watched from the kitchen. "There are things that don't wait," she said without looking at him. Esteban felt uncomfortable. "Don't exaggerate," he replied. But something in his voice no longer sounded as certain as before. That night, he finally listened to his mother's message. Her voice was weak, unhurried. She wasn't asking for anything specific, only saying that she missed him. Esteban felt a sharp pain in his chest. He thought about calling her immediately, but he looked at the clock. It was late. Tomorrow morning, he promised himself. He turned off the phone, not noticing the tremble in his hands. While he slept, the town kept its rhythm. The lights went out one by one. In Esteban's house, silence was no longer rest. It was distance. Outside, the wind dragged dust through the streets, as if time itself were moving forward without waiting for anyone. And although Esteban didn't know it, the margin he believed he had was running out. The next day dawned differently, though Esteban couldn't say why. The sky was gray and the air heavy. At the shop, he made simple mistakes, forgot orders, repeated tasks. His mind kept returning to his mother's voice. At midday, he decided to call her. He dialed the number, and no one answered. A new uneasiness settled in his chest. He tried a second time, then a third. The silence on the other end was no longer normal. Esteban closed the shop earlier than planned. As he walked home, each step felt slower. He remembered how many times he had said later, how many visits he had postponed, how many conversations he had left unfinished. For the first time, the phrase, "there's still time," sounded empty. When he arrived, Irene looked at him the moment he crossed the door. There was no need to speak. "Let's go," she said firmly. They got into the car without questions. The road to his mother's house felt endless. Esteban tightened his grip on the steering wheel, sensing that something important was about to be revealed. It wasn't exactly fear. It was the feeling of arriving late to something that had been asking for presence. The house was silent. A neighbor came out to meet them with a serious expression. Esteban understood before hearing any words. He entered slowly. His mother was lying there, peaceful, as if asleep. There were no reproaches, no unfinished goodbyes, only stillness. Esteban felt the world stop. All the lists, the schedules, the tomorrows no longer mattered. He stepped closer and took her cold hand, and the words would not come. There were no speeches left to make, only thoughts that arrived too late. If only I had come earlier. His mind kept repeating. Outside, the town's clock marked the hour with indifference. Time does not apologize. It does not turn back. In that moment, Esteban understood that not everything is lost through malice. Sometimes it is lost through postponement. The days that followed passed like a thick fog. Esteban fulfilled his responsibilities, but he no longer felt in control. In every empty space of the house, an unattended memory appeared. The chair where his mother used to sit, the ignored calls, the promised visits. He understood that the force he had been facing was not a person, but time itself, moving forward without negotiation. One afternoon, Lucas came up to him and asked something simple. "Dad, will you always have time for me too?" The question carried no reproach, only innocence, but it landed like a direct blow. Esteban hugged him without answering right away. In that gesture, he understood that he was about to repeat the same story, this time from the other side. That night, he spoke with Irene as he hadn't in years. He didn't promise grand changes. He said something more honest. I was wrong to believe that time belonged to me. Irene didn't respond with reproaches, only with a tired, sincere look. The lesson didn't arrive with noise. It arrived with a quiet sadness, clear and undeniable. Esteban began closing the shop earlier. He visited places he had always postponed. He listened more. He spoke less. Not to erase what had happened, but to avoid repeating it. He understood that some losses don't come to punish us, but to awaken us, that there are calls that are never repeated, and silences that can never be filled afterward. This is the story of a man who believed there was still time, and discovered that time does not wait. Because not everything is lost for lack of love. Sometimes it is lost for believing there will always be a later. If something matters to you, don't save it for tomorrow. The most valuable moment is not the one you plan. It is the one you choose to live now.